So Paul has spent most of his time in this letter telling us what we are free from. But beginning in chapter 5, he switches gears and he now begins telling us what we're free for, or what we're free to do. Now, the reason this is important is because there are a lot of exhortations that follow in chapter 5 and chapter 6. And if we don't understand that this is Paul describing what we're free for, then we will see those exhortations as conditions that must be met in order to keep God happy with us. That's not what's going on. In fact, that's the very thing that Paul has been debunking for 4 chapters. So the exhortations that follow don't come in the form of you must, but rather because you're free, you can. Okay, it's super important. There is an unconditional framework around these verses, not a conditional one. And he wants us to know that the ultimate expression of freedom is loving. He makes that very clear in verse 6, which I'll read again in a second. And the point he wants to make is that only a truly free person can truly love, and the one who can truly love is one who is truly free. Okay, I'll say that again. That only a truly free person can truly love, and the one who can truly love is one who is truly free. So at the end of verse 6, he summarizes this by pointing out that the only thing that matters in the Christian life is faith expressing itself in love. That's what he says very plainly, very poignantly at the end of verse 6. What is important is faith expressing itself in love. And what he shows in the verses that follow is that the law, which he's been talking about for 4 chapters, actually prevents love from happening, but that grace produces it. So the law prevents love from happening, grace produces love. From verse 2 through 12 of chapter 5, Paul shows how the law blocks love for others because it turns you inward. It makes you self-absorbed. This is what I call lived out legalism. It's life by law. You don't have to be a legalist theologically. You can believe that it's by God's grace that we're made right with God, and that it's not our works that get us in with God, it's God's work that gets us in with God. You can believe that theologically, you can believe that intellectually, but you can live as legalistically as what Paul is describing here. Lived out legalism. It's life by law, and it's terribly enslaving and narcissistic. We end up so consumed with ourselves that we fail to see the needs of others. Well, he says in verse 6 that the thing that matters most is faith expressing itself in love. In other words, the Christian life is outward focused primarily.